My name is Andreas Christodoulou. I'm a private special education teacher. I have two master's degree, one bachelor degree, and I'm 34 years old. Having to respect social distance for a long time is something quite challenging for the general population. As always, people going to try to go back to their previous norm. On the other hand, we can acquire new skills in order to achieve that personal responsibility, not only for ourselves, but mostly for people that need to be protected. That is always a complex skill to the realization that we live in a community and not as a lone island. The thought of this complexity has to be learned by promoting participation in every aspect of the community and has to be learned from a small age, not to promote ourselves, but our team. When I was a small child, my inspiration was coming from people of past era that were able to develop themselves and affect their community. Today, though, these characteristics I can find them mostly in the form of parents or everyday people that face the obstacles that life throws to them. In certain cases, they are able to achieve the same amount, even more, uh, of difference in their community. The majority of the population today thinks that their development should occur only until they find a job and after that just achieve promotion. I believe that self-development should be focused on promoting critical thinking, that these needed skills I try to acquire them either from past ex- analyzing past experience from books, ideas from the internet, enhancing my researching skills on certain topic that I already learned about them from my studies. A book that I gained my attention the last days is Oriana Fallaci, A Letter to a Child That Was Never Born. A must-watch video, always Greta at Davos. His speech was very inspiring. And websites, I think what we need right now is accredited news and always to think these news, how they affect yourself and the community. It's obvious by now that the new world that is rising, and we can see clear day by day the picture of 2035. Asian countries are catching up the Western world. That means that Europe will either evolve or collapse from the pressure of other countries, that it will either will have a united front, as much united as possible, um, in order to accept this multicultural and acceptance of every aspect of life. If they don't, um, Europe won't have a future. The educators need to have extended knowledge on the topic, skills of communication, attitude of acceptance, and be able to promote values as a role model. In the future, though, I don't think they're going to need that extended knowledge. They can have the basic knowledge on the topic, as the data will be more easily. They can acquire them more easily, find them more easily. Though they have to enhance their skills by promoting the knowledge, the attitude, the acceptance. All I think the role model will not change. We already see the repetitive jobs being replaced by AI. As artificial intelligence will continue to develop, it is expected careers that are based on this repetitive work, even the skillful one, will cease to exist. Even now we see man-made something exotic. On the other hand, careers based on abstract and critical thinking, especially in the field of services, is already on the rise, and I think will be the norm for 2035. I think social businesses right now represent only 10% of the EU economy. As citizens start to receive a higher level of education, stay away from repetitive jobs, social economy and social innovation will gain more friction to the EU economy. In USA, we see jobs to be linked with good universities, but also we see that the realization that skills can be earned in other ways also, and even these people they can gain these skills earlier in their life because sometimes they think they're not entitled to. They try more. Uh, that ends up reaching a higher position in their community. In EU, I think that's something that starts to develop. Lifelong learning is exactly that: skills and how what's the easiest way and faster way to acquire them. The universal knowledge is already easily accessible through various resources. Uh, People just have to be taught how to check this knowledge that's accredited. I think that's the skill that the majority of the people during the pandemic that was obvious they don't have. Uh, This specialization, the depth, comes either from universities or of years of experience. As people, especially during the pandemic, the knowledge we lack is to analyze the source, critique that source. So to find the source and also to be able to find if that's the correct one or find the other point of view. This is a must have minimal knowledge that all humanity, or at least EU citizens, should have by 2035. Western world is being divided by free healthcare for all or high-level healthcare for some. The negatives for free healthcare for all is that the whole system, if it's not built perfectly and it's constantly being upgraded in order to avoid mistakes, it might collapse. And in some countries we already see that. But using all this technology that is going to be expected by 2035 for in the healthcare system only for some, it would just be a waste. The younger generation usually feels discouraged from the present status quo of the economy. That leads them to freelancing. If they succeed, they find a team, uh, they might create their own small company. From that, they go bigger. If they don't, though, their solution is they prefer the gig economy. Flexible working, easy to adapt, a new era of workforce. The proof that we have on today's education is that it doesn't adapt quickly We're teaching our students skills that either are already obsolete, or even if we teach new skills, by 2035 they will be obsolete. Many countries make the next step of multicultural. Some of them have negative effect, the crash cultures. Uh, we see that in the States. Uh, the solution is no, I think it's not only to learn about other people's culture or accept it, is to be able to live in that culture and adopt it, keeping though and your own culture. Collective problem solving is quite common technique that's being used in schools for quite some time. Obviously, it's essential. We're using it to analyze other points of views, uh, but there's a problem because we're asking from our students to use the technique. On the other hand, they are going to be in a competitive environment, and those two are contradict each other, um, and also most of the times the competitive environment wins. If the younger generation lose these problem solving skills as a community, uh, we're going to have a serious problem with the functionality of our community. It's always easier, faster to have the first relationship through technology, to talk through technology, to contact someone, to exchange ideas. I don't think we'll ever replace the face-to-face meetings. Uh, it's just not comparable. E-learning courses, it's always an easy toolbox in order to develop your skills, acquire new ideas about teaching methods. I think the most important is that even if you have a lot of assistant and a lot of resources, you always have to do a lot of things by yourself. I think that's the problem. The platform we were using was Zoom. After that, we changed to Microsoft Teams. There was a safety issues. Um, I think what we always have to have in our mind is how easy it is to navigate through the course. Um, Sometimes laptops or even phones they're not that developed, so I think that's something that has to be uh, needs to be developed. Uh, there was no efficient training, long-term efficient training. There was no preparation of students, no preparation of teachers for distant learning during the pandemic or before. It was a very small time frame that the teachers had to be able to cope with new way of teaching. That means that had limited success because the teacher lacked many teachers lacked serious skills, and we saw also examples of students that became the teacher because they were better how to control this environment. I think be pretty clear of your objectives, making sure that everyone are able to navigate through the course, provide all the resources during or right after the course. Even that e-learning is gaining friction, you will always be considered lower level than face-to-face training. Uh, you, it is cheaper, it is the direct option, but I mean, take it for example that after the meeting, you can have a one-to-one conversation with the presenter of the course, but it's hard to be done, and even if it's done, it's not personal. To put in a simple way, be able to provide as many features uh, and even more depth than face-to-face training, if that is possible. Right now, the most common is courses. The training after that is training from universities. Though the training from universities are considered lower level, uh, for certain by 2035 the university level that the learning will be more advanced. I think we have a lot of catching up to do. The goal of every educator is their learner to become self-driven. After they pass this threshold, the educator is not the sole provider of that knowledge. So after that, the educator just points the way of how to acquire more knowledge from other resources and how to analyze the given knowledge.